another episode of Losers. What's Losers stand for? Well, none other than the League of SC Reviewers in plural form. We're so glad to have you here again for another amazing episode. I got the best people around me, starting with Linda Mokko. Linda Mokko, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So nice to see you again. So nice to have the league back together again.
Cool. And let's not forget the one, the only notorious Ben Diesel. Ben Diesel, what's up?
Hey. It's so good to be here, guys. Dude, I was so taken aback the first time that I saw the acronym for loser. I'm like, what's happening? The Street Epistemology tweeted it out, and like, why is Anthony calling us losers? And now I get it.
Yeah, it's all just
good one, Ty.
It's a weird sense of humor that I got, but hey, it's what makes us lovable on the inside. Speaking of lovable, there's nothing I love more than talking about what we've been up to since the last show in a segment I like to call Ben, Linda's, and Ty's Excellent Weekend. Awesome. So, Linda, how was your weekend? Oh, by the way, sorry, not to interrupt, but let's do a theme of today called, the themes of this excellent weekend will be called Let's Make a Deal. In Let's Make a Deal, we talk about awesome deals that we had, and we can't have Let's Make a Deal without this amazing music. Anyway, Linda, how was your excellent weekend?
Thank you. Yes, it was excellent. And the thing is, I've been stuck in Helsinki for 3 weeks. I was supposed to drive up to Lapland on the 5th, 3 weeks ago, let's put it that way. And I couldn't leave initially due to losing a family member, and after that, my car wouldn't start. So then I was like, just stuck. But then my husband came to me and said, Linda, we need to get you to Lapland. Let's go buy a car.
What?
Yeah.
What? Okay. Awesome.
And he told me actually to tell you that he loves me. This is why he did it. I wanted to add that in the story because I asked him if it was okay. And yeah, so, and we got a super deal. We got a car, it's 18 years old, but it's got a new battery, it's got an engine that works and sounds really nice. It functions, and it only cost us 750 euros.
What? That's like $14,000. I have no idea how the conversion works. It's about $700 or some. How does euros convert to USD? Just for the American audiences out there.
I think the euro is slightly stronger, but not much. So it's pretty much equivalent.
Hey, that's not bad for a car. Yeah. That's really, really great. That's a deal. I'm excited. Ben, let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. So Rihanna had a lot of achievements last week. She is now instructor at her pole dancing studio, which is awesome. Something she's been working at for a long time.
Wow.
And she got her first job offer since she graduated. So I took her out for dinner. And here in South Africa, every dinner is a deal because our currency is terrible. So we went to such a nice restaurant. It's our favorite place here in Centurion. Great sushi, good wine. And it cost us, for both of us, it was less than $40. So it was a good night.
For both of you guys, it costs less than $40 at a sushi place? Like together?
At a sushi place with wine, coffee,
what? That's
the
awesome.
works.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
I thought you were going to say it was a deal because the food in South Africa is so good that no matter what it costs.
Oh, that's true as well. Now, this isn't like a, mom's and pop store, somebody cutting up some tuna from a can, sticking it into rice. This was really good food.
Very nice. I feel like whenever I walk out of a sushi place the next day and there's no problems inside of Tyrone, I win no matter what. That's a deal. All right. I got my deal going on. It's also food related. I went to a Mexican store or Mexican food place called Don Senor. They got this challenge called a Monster Burrito that me and some of my coworkers are preparing for. It is a burrito made out of 4 different tortillas, just overlapped each other, and you roll it into like one giant one. It's about maybe 3 feet long and as thick as my head. and you're supposed to eat all of that within an hour. And if you do it, they put you on their Facebook page. You still have to buy the food, but it's so much food, it's crazy. I went ahead and got one early on because I said I can buy it now, get a gauge of the size, and see what the lunch was like. But the thing is, inside the store, because I'm in Kentucky, there's like very few Mexicans here. So instead of getting like the food in proportion of what you would get at a typical burrito place, they're just like, you want some meat on it? I'm like, yeah, put some meat. And they just load that thing with all the chicken, all the steak. And I'm like, that's a lot of meat that's going on here. This looks amazing. This is like 4 pounds worth of meat like throughout this whole sandwich. In each tortilla, it's like loaded. And I'm like, how much for extra meat? I just wanted to see what they said, and this is like 40 cents. They said 40 cents. I'm like, put more meat on it. So like this thing is loaded, and I'm like bringing it back home. I'm like, this is an amazing place. I love America so much. Anyway, I got through half of it in about like maybe a half hour. I feel like I could finish it, but I was literally at 50-50. Any food that makes me full is like the best food, period. Like I am so happy with that food. Anyway though, that is my deal. Oh, by the way, it cost $16.99 to get that burrito. One burrito costs $7. So like that's cheaper. The monster burrito is actually cheaper in a whole than any one single burrito by itself, and that's a deal. Anyway, what we're going to be doing today for the show is talking about one of the videos that I uploaded or will be uploading later on this week. It was at the Ark protest, and we're getting ready for me to be uploading most of the conversations that I had there, including some with some pretty famous atheists, including Aaron Ra, and I'm hoping that everything works out well. We're going to be talking with one of the ladies today, or I'll show you one of the conversations I had with one of the ladies there. But before we get into that, let's get into one of my favorite segments of the show called "Where is the Love? Where is the love?
Where is the love? The love.
The love.
Anyway, hey, Linda, where's the love today?
Oh yes, the Where is the Love segment is where we read feedback that we get from our previous shows, and we got some last week, and it is Ingut 40.
Oh,
once again says, anyway, great leaguing again, guys, albeit somewhat jumpy in the video.
right.
Yeah, I want to apologize to everybody. We've been having CPU problems, aka crappy computer. Linda, get a new one. But we're working on that.
Also, we uploaded a new version of that episode that's audio only that has no skips, and you're free to check that out. That's also the version that's uploaded on the podcast format that Anthony puts up. So feel free to check those out, and we'll now have more backups in the future. But thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. And then Alan SE from Spain says, oh my God, did not see this. Oh, no, sorry. He just says, oh my. I sneaked in a God there. I did not see this. Thanks, Super Curious, for letting me know when you're live. So that was Alan SE from Spain that you also talked about in that podcast or that show.
Hey, Alan, what's up?
So, hello, Alan. So nice of you to be watching.
Yeah.
That was the
Looking
love
really
for this
forward
week.
Vamos
To old
Charmar.
Alan releasing some videos.
He's a Spanish-speaking SEer, and he's in Spain, and he's pioneering that area, and wish him the best of luck. Keep at it, man. All right.
And it's wonderful that the SE community is like growing, or there are more people trying it, more people learning it, more people uploading it.
Yeah, it's becoming a whole worldwide affair. Anyway.
It's exciting.
Oh, I think we should mention the SE Discord while we're at it.
Oh, yeah, why not? Ben,
Oh, yeah.
That's all you. That's tech stuff.
So anybody who doesn't know Discord yet, stop being terrible millennials. It's a service where you can have your own voice chat rooms. So one was set up for the SE community by a guy named AJ. Thank you so much, AJ. He's done a lot of good work, put a lot of blood and sweat into it. And there, a lot of the SE enthusiasts are hanging out. You can meet Reed, Anthony, pretty much anybody who's active in the SE community, have some discussions, have yourself SE'd, and it's just a lot of fun. So whoever's interested, we'll post a link in our video descriptions and come hang out with us. It'll be great to meet you there.
Yeah, I was playing a video game yesterday. It's Steven Universe Save the Light. Great game. But while I was playing the game, I was just hanging out in the Street Epistemology Discord. I wasn't talking. I was just listening in. And there's always bound to be really good conversations around the evening of just friends coming in, maybe just like a guy who's curious about it and like another SEer, and they're just having a conversation about philosophy, and they're just having like a really fun time picking each other's brains. And it's just a really interesting thing to listen to while you're doing other stuff too. And you can have it on your phone or your computer. Like you can take it on the go wherever you want. If you like that kind of stuff, check out Street Epistemology's Discord group. We'll put the link in the description. How about that? Cool. So
sounds good.
Ben, how about you introduce the bit of the show before we get into the meat and potatoes?
The bit of the show, basically we pick a category, and whoever can sneak in a word from that category scores a point. If they get called out, then the guy who calls them out wins the point. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this for a while, so just to make things fair and get everybody on the same ground here, because Ty is very, very sneaky at this game. We've got something called the stinker card. So a stinker card, somebody picks a word which they think is going to be played somewhere in the episode. Mm-hmm. And if somebody says that word and the person who wrote the stinker card hears it, they can call them out and win 2 points.
Right.
So yeah, that's the bit. And our category for this week is fruit.
Fruit.
Linda was very excited about it. I don't know why.
I know my fruit. It's my favorite breakfast. Always has been. Fruit.
Nice.
Galore.
Okay. So we're gonna need to show the stinker cards to the audience. We can't look at each other's cards. So how about we do it one at a time, or everybody at once, but you can't look at the camera. This is just for the video guys. Okay. So everyone's looking away. Okay. Show your stinker card. This is the card that if we say...
Can I show mine?
Yeah, you both show it. My eyes are closed. Now we put them down. No one's showing the card anymore. We're good?
Did you see mine?
No,
I didn't. Okay, great. No, put your card down. Put your card down. Okay, everyone's good. So...
no, I meant like...
So the thing is, if anyone says the name of someone else's stinker card, that person with the stinker card gets 2 points. They take the point and they get an extra point, and it's a great way to keep everyone up. All right. Okay. I think we're pretty good. Are we all feel good? We're ready to lock this vault. Fruits.
Yeah.
All right. Get it ready. Let's come on. Help me out. We gotta get this thing closed. Come on, guys. Come on. Hold on. 3, 2, all at once. Come on. We can do this. Believe in ourselves. We're the losers. Ugh.
Oh.
Good job, guys.
Losers.
That was a lot. I think I need to take a quick little break.
That's some crazy vault closing.
Anyway, so again, this video that we're going to go over today is a vid that I did at the Ark Encounter protest. The Ark Encounter is this supposedly or allegedly, they claim it to be a one-to-one model of the Ark, Noah's Ark, and the reason why people were protesting there is because the hiring practices and the business practices weren't really, suitable or reputable. They would, for example, not hire you if you weren't a Christian. They would take out money from your paycheck in order to fund the museum because it's losing money, and they took a lot of taxpayer money, and so state money was used to build something that's inherently very religious. There's like other smaller things, like how they classify the building as not a building, but like as something else in order to pay less taxes on it. And the guy is making his money back even if it sinks to the ground. So like it's kind of like an unfortunate situation. So a lot of people went over to protest. They do it annually. And I met a lot of atheists there as well as Christians. And I'll be uploading these videos once a week of some of the conservative Christians that were there counter protesting, and some of the atheists that were there as protesting the bad hiring practices and the overall state of the business practices that were done at the Ark Museum. This lady that I was talking to, her name was Melissa, and she had a wonderful little daughter with her. I'm going to close this message and start the video.
Oh, those glasses are so cute.
Yeah, for the podcast listeners, just to describe Melissa, she looks like a really awesome mom. She has like purple hair, glasses. Her daughter is very shy, but she looks like a very small version of her with I would say normal colored hair. Anyway, here we go. Gonna hit play.
Why not? Because why would you want it to be more pleasant for everybody? It's like if it's pleasant for everybody, it's pleasant for you.
True.
But if you're making people miserable, then would you be a little bit? I mean, I guess some people don't care if they make other people miserable.
No, I think some people get off on it all the time
Some
too.
people do.
But very, very few, and nobody likes those people anyway. Hi, my name's Ty.
Hi.
So what I normally do is I set up this little like sign and table in like parks or whatever, and I talk to people about whatever they want to talk about. Oftentimes I'll have like a religious person come up, Christian, Hindu, whatever, and they'll try to like either explain their religion to me or like try to sell me on it, and I just ask questions to see if we can get to the foundation of what they believe. And oftentimes when we get back up from that foundation, they're not as confident in that belief anymore. I'm an atheist, and I never really get an opportunity to talk to other atheists, so I thought, let me go to a place where...
Just want to make a little point. There's Aaron Ra in the background, and then Seth Andrews walks. I think he might be the guy in the blue on the left-hand side, but it's kind of like a packed little affair. But again, just hanging out with these guys. And I also started my intro by explaining where I was religiously, which isn't really something I get an opportunity to do. And it didn't have as much of a backfire effect as I thought, because it helped to actually speed up the conversation to the more interesting parts of SE, and I think might be a more interesting way of seeing if you can felicitate a good conversation if you let people know where you're coming from. My only fear was that if I was saying I was an atheist to someone who had an idea of what atheist was, and it was the wrong idea, I would probably go a little bit more out of my way to explain what I meant when I said that. But she was an atheist too, and I think we were really on the same page. Anyway.
Okay. Cool.
Keep it up.
a bunch of atheists would be? Are you guys atheists?
Yes.
You are? Comfortable? With
Yep.
A-word and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I've never done interviews with any atheists before. Would you mind if I ask you some questions about, like, atheists in general? How did you become it? What's your personal, like, transition into it?
Well, I've never been religious.
You've never been religious?
No.
Ooh. What's your name, by the way?
Melissa.
Melissa. Nice to meet you. I'm Ty.
Yeah, no, she's just shy.
Oh, okay.
No, she just doesn't talk in front of people very much. She's just horribly, horribly shy.
Okay. What's her name?
That's Cece.
Cece. It's nice to meet you. Okay.
I haven't done little sign language. My oldest is autistic.
Yeah?
And when she was little, we used to do sign language. She didn't talk till she was past 3.
Oh,
so I used
okay.
to know baby signs. I didn't know
Nice.
real sign language.
My mom's deaf. So.
I used to know more and
More?
it was like cookies. And
Cookies, yeah?
It was like thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, it's like I used to know a bunch of ones like that because she didn't talk, but she learned some sign language when she was little.
Have you seen the YouTube videos of the sign language babies? Like there are babies that you can teach sign language at
Well,
a
yeah,
very,
she
very
did.
young
When
age.
she was a baby, she learned a lot of
For
it.
real, okay.
Because she went to daycare too, and they taught a lot of that at daycare.
That's incredible. So Melissa,
Yep.
you were never religious.
No, my grandparents were Catholic. I grew up in Boston, which
Okay.
everybody's Catholic in Boston. I mean, not everybody, but everybody in my city was like Catholic.
Okay.
But so I've pretty much been an atheist since I was little. Because I really realized it when I was like in 6th grade or something, and one of the teachers was asking what churches everybody went to.
Sure.
Which you shouldn't be asking in school anyway, but again, everybody's Catholic, so.
Everyone knows.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't go to church, and everybody's like, and I'm like,
What's
what,
the
is
big
that
deal?
weird? I don't go to church. And then occasionally, my grandmothers would talk my parents into sending us to Sunday school. And we'd go for a few months, and then we'd all get sick of waking up on Sundays. And then we'd stop going to Sunday school.
Would you say then that you never had a lot of the reasons why people are indoctrinated into religion and stay religious even when they realize that secularism kind of makes more logical sense is because they're weighted by like guilt of fear or like
I think
sins?
it's fear in family, just history. If you're raised in it and you're taught, if you don't do this, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to scare a kid. And I was never raised with that because
Okay.
my parents weren't religious. We lived in the same house with my aunt and uncle. They weren't religious. My cousins weren't religious. So, which is funny because my grandmother was. She went to church to the day she died. She was like,
Do you feel like you missed out on that whole emotional loop or roller coaster that most people?
yeah, because I didn't have to deal with it. It just made sense. I'm like,
It
why
just
would
makes
I
sense.
believe in this? Nobody
No.
ever taught me to believe in it. It didn't
Okay.
make any sense.
You mind if I ask you some questions then? Like,
Sure.
So some classic. So I think people who are like theists might be interested in realizing how someone who's never had religion in their life determine what's a good thing from a bad thing, or what will happen to them after they die. You want to just go over some like the basic stuff then? Like,
I mean, it's just
what's a good action from a bad action? How do you determine
it's
that?
the greater good.
The greater good.
It's not even a personal good. Good for the greater society, which I think people have gotten away from.
Okay.
Everybody's about what I want, what's best for me. It's like, no, it's what's best for everybody.
Could you give me an example?
It's a
Use food as the example. That's always good.
why would food be an example?
I don't know. 'Cause I like food. I like to think
No,
it's
it's like, yeah, I'd like to keep more of my money, but
Okay.
I'd rather pay more taxes if it's going to make more people, if it's going to benefit more people as universal health care. And it's like, yes, I make more money than a lot of people.
So you're
Take
saying
more of my money for taxes and make life better for everybody.
you're saying you prefer to have more people be healthy than sick. Therefore, if I can pay a little bit of taxes to keep that,
And it helps
totally fine.
everybody. Yeah, that's better.
Can I throw something out at you? And and like I say, I'm an atheist too. I just like to like challenge the ideas, and then let me know if I'm taking too far. But there are people right now who need a kidney. I imagine you have 2 kidneys right now,
I've signed up to be a donor. I've never been matched with anybody.
but you don't need 2 right now.
No.
You could give up 1 right now and give it to someone. Would you
I
make that a
could.
law?
I mean,
That
I wouldn't
everyone
make
give
that a
up their
law. I
kidney?
mean, something like that. That comes down to.
Can I pause right here? I think it's a really interesting part. So just as a quick review, Melissa was someone who's never been religious. She never had to face that kind of indoctrination. And so instead of I asked her, like, do you need religion? Do you need that? She's like, no, because I'm all good. Everything's good. I feel like I'm moral. I feel like I'm a good person. And I just don't feel like you need to believe in things for bad reasons, and I value all that stuff. So I switched the conversation more towards what's her moral foundation, because a lot of people who are theists want to understand where atheists get their morals from, or where do they place those values in. Like, how do you tell a good action from a bad action? And the premise that I'm asking her now is like, what's the foundation, or what's like the rule that you have, or like the rules that you have to determine good things from bad things? And I think she said, like, you should always do things to help people, or always do things to like increase maximum pleasure or happiness for people. And so those rules tend to be a little bit too simplistic, at least those aren't necessarily the rules that we tend to follow in our social contracts, because we value things like personal property, or like the things that we own. You shouldn't have to give up half your money to help someone else, or at least like your kidney, for example, or like the home that you live in. And as cruel as that might sound, I think we all agree that, like, we are, with exceptions, willing to help people be happier, but it shouldn't come at a consequence of like things like, the health of our bodies, or the rights that we have, or personal property, or there's always going to be limits. So I'm introducing the concept of the kidney example, which is you have 2 kidneys, someone else needs one right now, you can keep them happy and alive if you give up one of your kidneys. Should it be a law that every single person that has 2 kidneys should give up their kidney to someone who needs it? And that begins to like play on the idea of, well, maybe it's not I should do things to make everyone happy. Maybe I should start doing things within limits to make people happy, which makes people think about the concept of why they value good things and bad things a little bit more. What do you guys think? I feel like I'm talking too much.
My first thought here was, why did you want to emphasize that you were an atheist before you entered the moral question?
Yeah, I rarely have the opportunity to do that, or I feel like I didn't have the opportunity to do it before my previous talks. And so at a convention where I knew there would be a lot, like, there's only 1 or 2 reasons why you're there in the first place. You're either a protester or a counter-protester. And so I thought, let's just try it where I'm upfront about where I'm at, and then use that as a way to engage people to talk about religion, and less about like, ancillary things. Like I'm going to say, like, I'm an atheist. Are you an atheist? Oh, you're not? Hey, would you mind telling me about like why you're religious? Because I want to just have this, as an atheist, I want to have a really good conversation with you as someone who's religious. Or I'm an atheist. Are you an atheist? Yeah. I've never really recorded 2 outspoken atheists talking to each other. Would you mind having a nice dialogue with that? And that way, if theists are watching us, they'll see 2 outspoken atheists have like a pleasant conversation about morality, or about politics, or whatever that you want to have a conversation about, to show that, we're more than just a stereotype. We're like people that can have a productive conversation.
Yeah, I got that in the beginning, but then you also emphasized it just before you took the conversation to the moral question.
Okay.
You were, I'm an atheist, by the way.
I was just so happy to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I think it's important that you're able to speak to no matter what. Like it's, or you could speak to no matter what. Speak to anyone you want, no matter what. Whether you identify as religious or not. So
the thing that I've been kind of thinking about, if I speak to somebody who might be a theist and I explain to them I'm doing this thing, Street Epistemology, and we have the conversation, at first they have no idea what it's about. At the end, they might have enjoyed the conversation, say this was very cool, can I get some more information? I give them my card, they can go look for Street Epistemology. If they Google Street Epistemology, best case scenario is they are going to find a reference to a manual for creating atheists.
right.
So that's already going to have their hackles up. Worst case scenario, and this is like one of the top 4 results you get, they're going to land on capturing Christianity, which gives the argument that Street Epistemology is disingenuous, is dishonest, is a way to prey on people for their beliefs.
Right.
So what I've been thinking is of trying to be much more direct and actually identifying myself as an atheist. If somebody specifically wants to talk about religion.
Right.
And then to say to them, cool, this technique is not about changing your mind. This technique is not about me trying to deconvert you. I'm interested in understanding what you believe because, number one, it's really interesting to me. And I am interested in helping you reflect on how you got to that position. So what I'm planning to do, and unfortunately the weather hasn't been playing with me for the last couple of weeks, is going out and doing exactly that and telling my IL, if they're open to it, I'm going to take you through this process and explain to you what each and every step, what the purpose is, what I'm trying to achieve. And while I'm doing that, I want you to do the same to me. So I'll throw out a claim, even if it has to be, let's say, strong atheism on a scale for a specific God, and they can challenge me on that. Because I think that might be a very constructive exercise in getting them to see the value of actually asking these types of questions rather than them afterwards looking into the method and feeling maybe victimized.
But aren't you there assuming that they will feel victimized?
It definitely
I just want to say something there about the value of being neutral, letting the questions and whatever the belief the other person have speak for themselves.
The value of
grouping
being
ourselves.
Less ambiguous, less gray. People don't like. People can misconstrue that as street epistemologists being a little bit more sneaky, and the more I think Ben's point is like the more that we can be more upfront about it, the less it looks like we're trying to hide something, and the more we can be open about like actually, this is my religious background, and it has nothing to do with this method that I'm using to talk to you right now.
I do understand Ben's point. I'm trying to bring up the point that I would not want to do today something based on motivation that is a fear of something that I'm assuming that somebody might do, or even a critique towards SE from somebody who does not understand it, especially if it will be at the cost of effective SE. If it is at the cost of effective SE, I'm not convinced that's the case. I'm just bringing up the point. Being neutral.
To me, I started wondering why so few people contact me back. So maybe it's just, a lot of people don't think about it afterwards. Maybe it's the conversations don't have such a big impact, but I definitely think that somebody looking into it, there is that possibility. And I'm not saying that this should be the paradigm shift. This should be the way all of us approach it. I just thought it would be interesting to have examples of this, a bit of a different approach, and seeing that neutrality, how much of an effect does it actually have? And if we go outside of it and do exactly what Ty is doing here, put your biases on the table up front,
right.
If you can still have a constructive conversation in spite of that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I noticed when I went out now for the first time here in Finland with the filming stuff and all that now that I've been watching the material, I haven't yet edited anything, but I'm on my way. I'm learning that whole part of it as well. But now that I've been watching it more times, I'm like, wait a second, does this, because when I was in the situation, I thought the first lady saw me just as somebody asking questions, just very neutral, that it had nothing to do with religion. But now when I watch it again, I'm like, oh, this is the point where she starts thinking I'm proselytizing something.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I need to get ideas of
Yeah.
how to do this, putting my cards on the table, so at least that would not be a fear if you're not yourself bringing that, to the table.
What
it's
exactly were
really
you getting
interesting how
a
we
bit too excited
present
that she was maybe seeing too much passion through this?
Because it's a weird scenario to see someone with a table with microphones and being like, okay, what's going on here? Random conversations. Then you start the conversation and it's like, it can't just be the surface level intentions. What's beneath it? So like, I feel like if you are really upfront about it at the beginning, not just with where you're coming from, but like what your intentions are, what your goals are, the goals and intentions being the most important part, then people can come into it. And I also like the idea of use the subjects that the interview partners give you, because if they say, hey, I like baseball, and somehow you translate that, or you migrate that into a conversation about religion and whether or not their God exists, that feels disingenuous. Like if they give you a subject, stick with the subject. But if they open up the doors to religion, then it's like, hell, whoa, this is what I love to talk about, because this is where I'm coming from. I would love to know where you're coming from too. Can we please talk about that for a little bit? And yeah,
something which worked very well here, and you just did it. Had a perfect example of that in this video is when you signed to a daughter and she immediately picked up that you're using ASL, and that started a conversation, and you could see her opening up because now that was such good rapport building. Something which I've seen in another video that I've watched is it was very weird. Somebody spoke about their hair.
Okay.
And I think it was one of Anthony's videos. And he used that as a metaphor for her belief throughout. And it was just like, it was weird. It wasn't a very easy metaphor to follow, but for her, it grounded the conversation so much that at the end of it, I was convinced that it actually made the difference for her understanding what he was trying to convey. So it's good to pick up on those cues, even if it's something baseball, which might be completely unrelated to the belief you're discussing, but pulling that in, leveraging that interest that they might have to actually help them get what you're saying that much easier.
Right. Cool. So just as a review, we're talking about a conversation that I had with a lady named Melissa. She is raised as a non-religious, so she never had a chance to like believe in, like, I don't know, gods, hopefully not fairies or dragons. Fruit is the, what is it? Fruit is the bit word, and fruit doesn't count, right? Because I'm not claiming that. But I'm just saying that is it. Currently, right now, we're about halfway through the video. I just want to make a point that I got 2 points so far. You guys didn't catch them yet. And if you want to catch up, just check out the chat, because it's all there. We're still playing the game, but we'll get into the next half of the video. Guys got to get into it. All right, here we go. Here's the bit.
You could be personally really hurt by having that surgery. And yeah, that could help somebody else.
It could save their lives.
It could, but I think that's taking it too far as personal liberty.
Okay, so there's...
There's personal liberty, like, you are in control of your own body. Nobody can tell you what to do with your body.
I like that. So you value things that are not just necessarily good for the Commonwealth, but also personal things as well.
Yeah.
Personal property,
that
personal
could hurt
liberty.
you. Like,
sure.
Yes, having less property could hurt you in a way like, oh, I have less fun. But it's like, it's not hurting you your whole life. Whereas having a kidney coming out, you could have a complication that could destroy your life.
Sure, but don't I also have a right to my own body parts and what I decide to do with them?
Yeah, because that's your body.
Yeah, it's my own body. I should be like...
It's part of your body.
Yeah, you need one, but this is mine.
But stuff is stuff, body is body.
Or like, how do I put it? My house is my house. Yes, people can live here, but this is my house.
But on the other hand, you don't need that house.
True, but it's the same. Is it? Will we say it's also valuable as a personal liberty for someone to say, "This is my thing. I am aware that you don't. I can help you financially with that, as part of like my
On
income.
some level.
But okay, so there's a
like a limit.
give and
So
take.
you have to find that limit. Or
That's the point that I wanted her to recognize. It's not just everyone should always do something good to help someone. It's that there's a limit, but the intention should be to try to help people as much as you possibly can. And I feel like that's a much more nuanced position that makes it more applicable to reality than one where you're constantly having to wake up and help people all day long. There's like a limit there and exceptions to most rules that we have in our social contracts. Does that make sense? What do you guys feel about that so far? I'd be interested in how you guys feel about it.
I like the concept. I think the questions you're asking might be a bit too leading.
Okay.
That was what I was thinking. Sorry.
I would
If
also
they might have been more open-ended to get her to drive towards the conclusion rather than trying to steer it towards it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, or I think it's like you want to communicate something of value to her and she's understanding it. But I'm wondering, like, what does she think? What were her ideas before understanding your ideas, you know?
Okay. Let's get back to the video. Let's see if she does give her thoughts on it. It'd be interesting. All right.
you're comfortable with. And like, yeah, it's your personal body. It's like pain and whatever.
What if there was one big God that could just say, here's the list. This is the list of personal rights that you have. I'm perfect. Deal with it.
Yeah, but I don't think there would be. If their God came down and said that and they actually could prove his power, then I'd be like, all right, I was wrong.
Are you saying you'd rather have a system where people can work out the limits amongst themselves?
Which is part of democracy. It's like you have to kind of work out the limits of what is and isn't, which is why taxes. It's like, yes, pay more taxes to a point, but at some point, you have to give people incentives to earn more and do stuff. But then at some point, like, people with $1 billion that inherit it, like, what's their motivation to do anything?
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, that's where it comes down to. You have to figure out where the middle ground is.
So it's important to develop a social contract with people.
Yeah, it's like you live in a society.
Yes.
And the thing is, I think people don't understand is if you contribute to society and you're helping the less educated become more educated, you're helping society in general. Like, people talk about crime, they don't want crime. Well, what causes crime? People that have no hope. If you're not helping them have hope, you're going to get more crime.
Okay.
And it's like, do you want to live in a society that's completely segregated where you're scared to go in certain areas because of crime?
Wouldn't you say religion gives people hope?
All right. What do you guys
Sorry, no, I just realized now that I probably misspoke earlier in the fact that you actually came with quite extreme examples first, and then she was like correcting you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, so it's combined now with your commentary that you wanted her to find the limits, that I go like, but then it's just about what you want her to think, kind of, was my previous comment. And now I realize that she was actually finding correcting the extreme examples.
It's true. If I feel like, so on this day I did 35 interviews with people, and they're outside of camera, but there are people surrounding the tent. And so the conversations tend to be a lot more faster paced. I think Ben recognized this in the study group. It was less of like the slow and steady approach that we have like with SE, and more of like, okay, boom, 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 this is what you believe, boom, boom, boom. Next person, boom, boom, boom. And by the time it was like 20, it's like, okay, all right, argument from incredulity again. All right, so let's do it. Let's go through this. Here are the beats, here are the beats, here are the beats, here are the beats. You got it? It's like, yeah, I don't know how to answer that. Great. Here's a card. Next person come in, and we'll do it again. So,
and that's an excellent point too, because there was I remember when I was thinking about, shall I go to the quiet sports park where people are kind of like meditatively walking as they would be, or my other option was like a park where people, like, they play frisbee and they hang out and they walk and they eat ice cream, and it's like busier, just because I thought in Finland I need to go somewhere where it's really crowded just to get anybody. But then I did choose the quiet place. So it's just a good point also that the environment does affect the conversation.
That's a fantastic
point. And the possibility for it's different.
That's a fantastic
Something which I really like about this video, and something where I've kind of noticed the value of SE. It seems to me as if a lot of people are becoming more enamored with black and white thinking, where they take positions, but it has to be all the way on one side of the spectrum or not. And SE is a very useful tool to tackle that. Just talking through it, I spoke to a guy about the Alex Jones issue and free speech, and he was saying Alex Jones shouldn't have been kicked off. And as we were talking through this, he admitted he doesn't think that anything should be, or any censorship should take place, even to the extreme that he said if somebody stole a bunch of people's details and leaked that onto the internet, that should not be censored.
Is
So
bunch
he just
fruit
said that.
related?
No.
What? Did I miss it? Was there a steal? Anyone? No? Okay.
We could give that to Linda.
What happened? What happened? What did you get?
Completely
All right.
unintentional.
Save it for
Linda
then.
heard a bunch.
Not bad.
And so this guy said, this is how I feel, Ben, and I don't know. I think it's important because a lot of other people are attacking free speech, and it needs to be defended. So even though he doesn't really think that all speech should be absolutely protected, he sees the attacks on free speech as a reason for him to be in this black and white position. All speech should be absolutely protected under all circumstances. And I thought at least it was from the other conversations that people were having with him on that topic, which became very heated. Ours was meaningful. Ours ended with him and me saying, cool, let's go grab a beer and talk about this sometime. I really enjoyed this conversation. So I think that's something that most people can benefit from if they look into it a bit.
I agree. I think it's important to, try to figure out how your environment does affect how you're asking questions. Think about what your questions can become, quantify your environment, all that stuff. Super, super useful. How about we wrap up the video? So
let's go for it.
I think right now what's going on is Melissa and I are working with that extreme example, and we're realizing the value of the nuanced position of, instead of just, I think we should just be kind to people, period, to there are limits to how kind you should be, but generally that's the target of what you want to be. And it's okay if you're not in certain circumstances, but we need to work out those circumstances. And working out the circumstances as a democracy is better than just getting a list of demands from like a ultimate god, because morality works best when you are considering what the society wants as well. All right, so here is the last of the video.
But I don't think people follow the religion the way they even say they do. Like, people aren't very Christ-like, You don't see all the Christians giving all their money to the poor and helping. I mean, some of them do. I mean, I know people that are and do follow that, but I know a lot of people that are hypocritical. And yeah, religion may give them hope, but it's like the hope you want and stuff in that Bible that you're supposed to follow. It's like, that's questionable. Why don't you have hope in other people and do stuff for other people?
So you're not just saying hope generally, you're saying hope in other people.
It's like you have to work together. A book is not going to solve your problem.
Community, like building community, social aspects. That's more fundamental than just having hope.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question?
Sure.
What happens to you when you die? Aren't you scared? Aren't you terrified?
Gone. Well, the thing is, you're just gone.
What? You're just saying you live and that's it? How dare you?
And once you're dead, what do you care? You're dead. You don't know anything anymore. It's like, as you're living person, like, it's kind of scary. I'm not here anymore, but it's like, I wasn't here for billions of years. I won't be here for billions of years after.
You know what's terrifying to me is living literally forever, never being able to die, because then everything around me loses value because I know it'll always be there, or like have some sort of experience or stimuli there. And it'll be like, the fact that it's limited and temporary is what gives it value, and that's what I find beautiful behind a short-term life. And it's not so much that I know I won't be here, it's just I don't know what happens after I'm dead.
Nothing.
Until I have better evidence for it.
I just think you just don't exist anymore, and you don't care because you don't exist.
Yeah, at that point, who knows what happens?
Like,
yeah.
I think that's a better thing than worrying about going to hell anyway. It's like, well, you're just dead. Like, it's like going to sleep.
Okay.
You don't know what happens when you're asleep. You're just asleep, and then you're just gone.
If your impression is you're dead once you're dead, do you think there's any sort of like inherent justice in the universe? And
no.
Does that make you not feel good about how the universe was put into place or anything like that?
I think it just is what it is. It's like, try and be a good person, be nice to other people, make their lives better.
Okay.
And, live until you're dead.
To what end?
Why not? Because why would you want it to be more pleasant for everybody? It's like if it's pleasant for everybody, it's pleasant for you.
True.
But if you're making people miserable, then would you be a little bit? I mean, I guess some people don't care if they make other people miserable.
No, I think some people get off on it all the time
Some
too.
people do.
But very, very few, and nobody likes those people anyway.
No.
They are living in their own hell, just being themselves.
I think most people just want to make,
Yeah,
but then people get caught up in their own happiness and ignore other people, which I think is
that's
a problem.
very true. So it's always a limit.
Yeah.
One last question.
Sure.
How, like, I guess, and I normally ask this question at the beginning, but like, say from a scale from like 0 to 100% as far as confidence goes, how confident are you that no God exists?
I would say about 99%.
That's a perfect answer, I think. I just, only in the sense of you're not absolute.
You can't be absolute on everything.
Very good.
I don't know everything absolutely.
Very good.
I'm not that smart.
Hey, that was a great chat. Cece, it was nice to meet you.
Cece, learn some sign language. We need to talk to you. Okay.
Thank you so much for that chat. I really appreciate it.
Okay, final take homes. What do you guys
Excellent,
think?
Tyrone.
This is not the excellent Tyrone show or the excellent Linda or the excellent Ben. This is the league, and we're here for constructive
SC
feedback,
reviewers.
not pat on the backs. What do you guys think? What do you think
But
could
I
be
do
improved?
think with your goal being that you want to be able to talk to anybody about anything, I think you're really effective in that.
Mm.
And here, like, I just was thinking that as it ended, and I always just feel so happy after watching your videos, and I think it doesn't really matter who is talking to who about what, no matter how much you guys agree or don't disagree, it always feels good because you are actually talking and communicating, and it's like it's a thought through dialogue.
There's a really cool guy on the SE League Training Grounds, which is like this messenger group for guys who enjoy constructive feedback about the content that they produce. He had this really cool idea where, you know how SE is like one tool in a box of tools that you have when you try to have a conversation with someone. He has a tool that is like SE, but it's basically the exact same thing as SE. That's called like the pebbling aspect, which is trying to ask a question that sticks with the person that you're talking to after the conversation's over. So like if SE, the goal is to like try to get to the underground foundation and try to discover what that foundation is and determine if it's reliable, the concept of pebbling is try to have a conversation with someone where you can ask a meaningful question that sticks with them until even after the conversation's over. And I found like all those tools in the box are wonderful. And I also like the concept of pebbling as far as like an easier thing to look up on the internet and not get, the Peter Boghossian book, which is totally fine. It's a good book.
All the baggage.
But you don't get the baggage with it. When you describe what you're doing as pebbling, it sounds way less intimidating, and I think it gets the concept more across, more closer, or like more accurately, more quickly than Street Epistemology, which is also a good thing too. So it also doesn't have the concept of there's a lot of, what do you call it, acronyms and like inside lingo of like interlocutors, which is totally a fine word to say. But if someone called me that like 4 years ago, I'd be like, what'd you just call me? Huh? What was that word? So like, I think whatever you want to call it, because it's all just apples and I just said apples and I didn't mean to say apples.
Apples.
Dang it.
I was just waiting
All
for
right,
those
Linda,
apples.
got it. Was that your secret card?
Then I got them apples.
No, but I'm just calling it out.
Okay, cool. I'm
first.
glad. I caught myself. I didn't even mean to say that, but but it's all more or less various things or various perspectives on more or less the same thing, which is trying to talk to people about anything in a way that doesn't get them to be closed-minded and trying to open up their mind a little bit. And I think as long as we can do that,
And it's important. Yeah, it's very important to have those various ways of approaching it. If you have this idea of there's just this one right way of having a conversation, that's going to stand in your way.
right.
You need to apply. You need to adjust your approach to fit whatever conversation you're having and the person you're talking to.
And not only that, but like the environment that you're doing it in too, I think that we discovered also requires different approaches. And I would also say there's a really cool video of a guy who's interrogating a killer, a murderer, and he has a very distinct approach that's very similar to SE, where he is asking questions, he's pausing, he's never targeting the person he's talking to with his methods. And his strategy, if you watch the full video, isn't so much, I'm trying to get to a deeper level of your understanding. It's, I'm trying to talk to you in a way that doesn't make you get defensive. I'm going to use a goal-oriented approach to get there, where it's, we both want this thing, which is, we both want to like resolve this situation. What's a way that we can work together towards we guess getting this as a team, like you and me, you the killer, me the cop? How can we get this information that we would need so that we can, you know, help these families that are in pain and stuff like that? And he never puts any guilt on the other guy, but he just handles the conversation well. His body language is amazing. I posted some pictures on that. This is really, really high level stuff. And I'm beginning to realize from the talks that I've been doing and getting some feedbacks from like people in the salesmen's divisions, or like selling divisions, or people in politics, or this interrogator, or with Chris's idea of pebbling, and then Ant's street epistemology. Like, there are a lot of different tools that are available to us that we can learn from each other to make this approach or this overall goal that we have with trying to get through to people's self-defense mechanisms more effective and more optimal. Like, there's a lot of room for us to grow. And I think it's really cool that we're in it at this level, because there's so much work that needs to be done, but there's so much fun things that we can discover along the way. And that's why I'm happy I got you guys with me too.
Yay.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, guys.
All right. So how...
And I just think for me, this strawberry... oh, shoot.
You want, who wants that one?
What is that even, Linda? Linda's brain just broke for a bit.
I started this game so good, too good. So now it's.
Now you're just making a straw man berry of yourself.
Yes.
I'll give Linda strawberry. Strawberry. Linda gets strawberry. Berry. All right. So how about this? Let's unlock the vault and close up the show. How about that?
Okay, no.
All right, cool. All right, get our hands on the guards. Let's do it a lot easier this time, guys. Oh, there we go. Nice. See, we just needed that little bit of a warm-up. That's all. Anyway, so at the beginning of the show, I don't know who's winning, but Ben, can you help me keep track of the score? And I'll just go through them one by one.
Yeah.
All right, so at the top of the show, I said it's important to speak to no matter what. Speak to matter what. Or tomato. That's tomato. Or I say tomato, it doesn't matter. But tomatoes are fruits, that counts at the top. Then later on in the show, I said, yeah, it's really important to be less ambiguous, less gray. People don't like that. Grape is a fruit too. Ben got, these are things that anyone who like re-listens to the show can like check out, because whenever we say something a little bit random or makes no sense, and we all nod, it's like, what's
Linda,
going on there? Anyway,
you get so excited. You show too much passion through this. Passion fruit.
I didn't catch that, but that was great. Passion through this. Nice. Boom. Okay, so then I said, yeah, it doesn't matter what you believe in, you know, gods, fairies, dragons. Fruit is the bit of the show, though, right? Just catching up. And dragon fruit's a fruit too. I had to go exotic because I didn't know what was on your sinker cards. We should reveal them at the end of the show. But Ben, you have the next one.
So I was talking about the guy who spoke to me, and he said Ben and Anna.
Nice.
I'm playing the accent card for all that it's worth.
And then Linda called out bunch, and we'll give her that. It's fruit related. It's not bad. Then when she made the point of you have to be aware that your environment can reflect how well you can do SC, I said, yeah, it's important to think about your environment, think about what your questions will become, quantify your environment, which made no sense whatsoever, but you guys were both smiling and nodding anyway, so it must have been pretty good. But in there is become quantify, or kumquat. And kumquat's a fruit too. All right.
I think we're going to have to review that one.
Kumquat's a fruit. Go ahead, look it up. And then apple call out, when I said, I was going to say apples and oranges, or like apples and apples, but then I didn't mean to like say apples at all. Linda, you called me out on that. Ben, what's this next one?
I said it's very important to have various techniques. Berry. us.
That's just a bad dad joke. All right, and then Linda just straight up said strawberry at the end of the show.
I was going for strawberry blonde, but man, I think this game is more difficult now. I'm learning something about myself, and that's like I'm really serious game player in the sense like I think it can't just like or there's something about words like you can't just like recreate them. You can't do it Ben and call it a banana. It's just not right. Like I'm real
learning from Ty. So I'm absolutely innocent in this.
Somewhere.
Okay, so
a word stick.
Just one quick pause. Gonna come right back in. Return the room. Okay, cool. So we will then get ready to close up the show. What was the final score, Ben? Did you have that?
It was 3 for Linda.
3 for Linda.
If we count that pity point at the end. Very well done, Linda.
Okay.
3 for Ben.
3 for Ben.
And I broke it with kumquat, which still isn't a word, but we'll give it to him.
What was my final score?
4.
Whoa! That was a closer competition than I was expecting. I was coasting at the end because I thought I had it, but you guys were really going. The other things I had on my list.
Humans.
So I made a little list of like phrases I could say and get away with it, and I was like, how can I sneak watermelon into the conversation? That was the hardest one for me. Anyway,
that would have been impressive.
It would have been impressive. Anyway, what was on your sneaker cards?
Mine was berry.
Oh, you said your own stinker card? What are you doing?
That's how I roll. I knew none of you were going to say it.
Linda, what was on your kiwi? If you just called out Linda Strawberry, you would have had 2 points.
Oh no, I couldn't do it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh yeah, it's got a berry in it.
You stinker.
Aww.
Anyway,
it would have been okay.
That makes Happy Humans update their score to 3. Woohoo! Happy Humans. Casual Canines, you guys got 1 point.
Arf, arf, arf.
And the Nordic Neckos, you're on the board still with 1 point.
Meow.
Awesome. All right, so that is the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next week or next time that we do the show, we're going to go through Linda's videos, which are going to be really, really cool because you just started your first outdoor SE adventure, right?
Yes, I did. I went out. I was nervous. I didn't even have a whiteboard. I just used this like thingamabob I had, but it didn't matter. I had my 2 cameras. I had great weather.
Nice.
And one of the most beautiful SE locations I've ever seen.
It was really, really
nice. Yeah, it was really nice.
And
it was
one
like
of the
this
best setup tables
intersection
and
between
everything too.
4 trails. And then also like I learned I've got heaps of like preconceptions about fins and bad ideas that weren't true at all. I had like 4 people lined up.
Wow.
Like they just came boom, 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 boom. The first person came like about 5 minutes before I had even set up everything. And I let her sit in my chair, of course, or her chair at that moment. And I gave her some coffee. So she was like waiting for me to put the like cameras on and everything. And then it was like 4 people in a row. And then when they were gone, I was like, what just happened? And I said this quite recently, that just to let people know that the night before, because I'd packed everything, I was like, I've got to go. I've got to do this now. And the night before, I was like, why am I doing this? Why do I like SE?
Yeah, it's
I
kind
don't
of
need to change the
nerve-wracking,
world. I can just stay home and not do it. But then I was like, but you've got to do it.
Right.
And then I did it. And then right after it, like when everything was over, I was like, man, I want to do this again. And, you know, now I'm ready. Like, come on.
Right.
Let's get the conversations going. So I really, really, really encourage people to just go out. If you've got that same feeling like, no, this is not worth it, it is worth it.
Yeah.
Fun.
The power to be able
Absolutely.
to talk to anyone about anything. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a positive note, and I can't wait to see what you'll come up with on the next episode of Losers League of SC Reviewers. Let's go. All right, so let's close out the show with our catchphrase. I am both rubber and... Wait a second. Nordic Neckos was on the point with 1 point. You got to do the Nordic Necko team noise. We got to get it.
The Nordic, I said meow.
Oh, okay, cool, great. Where's we now do.
But what about our prizes?
Yeah, the draft. I forgot about that. So here are the options. You can either promote a video, get the final word, or shamelessly plug yourself. Since I got the first point, or I get the high score, I'm going to promote a video. There is a video that we're going to put in the link in the description that links to that interrogator's talk that he has with a murderer. It's dark at first, but what I really want to highlight is his approach towards getting the information he needs from the guy and how he mirrors the body language throughout, how he never makes the conversation confrontational, even though the murderer knows this guy's a cop and the cop knows this guy's the murderer. How they talk with each other and how they get over each other's defenses is really, really amazing. And there's a method behind how the guy's doing it. And I think if you've seen a couple of SE videos, you'll be really interested in keying in on the techniques that he's using. I think it's a really well done conversation. And there's a guy who's like on a narrator breaking down each of the things that he's doing at the same time too. We'll put the link in the description. Check it out. It's a really, really good show. Anyway.
Could you just repeat the name of it?
I don't have it on the top of my tongue, but
I'm sorry.
It will be in the description. I guarantee you that. So go ahead and check that out.
Yeah.
All right. Who, Ben or Linda, what would you guys like to do?
I
want the last word.
Oh, okay.
And then, so I would like to shamelessly plug Ben and this new show called, or I don't know if it's a new show, but they Ben met up with Anthony Magnabosco on the Switch, and I listened to it this morning, and it's a nice long show. Like, it was an hour and a half. Yeah. And it was just jam-packed with really good points and ideas. Were you four guys talking?
Yes.
That's what I thought I heard. And it was just like really nice. And for anybody who is interested in street epistemology, starting out, or maybe being in it for a while, I just really loved that show. It was really good because it had lots of levels. It had Anthony who's done this for a really long time and speaks really eloquently about it. And then you, Ben, you've got the smarts and you got the understanding and that sweet soft voice. And it was just
you do.
The two other guys were good too. I loved that show, The Switch.
Cool.
It was about how we change our minds.
And before Ben goes into the final word and closes out the show with our catchphrase, I just want to say the video's name is give me 1 second. The video's name is The Confession, The Fifth Estate. So if you search on YouTube The Confession, The Fifth Estate, you will find that interrogation video, and we'll also put a link in the description. Ben, all up to you to close the show.
Cool. Last words. I love you guys the mostest.
Also, you close the show with our catchphrase.
1, 2, 3. I am both rubber and glue.